All right, I'm measuring the space between the two windows. I find it to be 49 3/8 of an inch wide. Half of that is 24 11/16, and there is a line representing that measurement on that piece of tape between the windows. Now I'm taking my 3-point laser, lining it up between the lights on the ceiling and on my 24 11/16 mark, which will put the ceiling fan directly between the windows and directly between the ceiling lights for a centered look. I'm coloring in where the red dot is. That's where I will drill my hole for my ceiling fan. You know how to save yourself $20,000? Spend $300 on a wall scanner. This way you know where all the water pipes are, all the electric lines, all the studs, all the heating ducts. It shows you where everything is, so you don't drill into something that you probably shouldn't have. After this pre-scan is done, we roll the other direction. It's going to show us what it found in the ceiling. So above this is a room, so there's floor joists here. The first one shows wood with a nail or a screw of some sort in it. It also shows another wooden floor joist here, but up in the top left-hand corner was a little lightning bolt that was flashing, which indicated that there's also electricity running up there somewhere. One of the most difficult situations to be in is when you're working in someone's home. They obviously have furniture and paintings or pictures and things hanging on the wall, and you got to be responsible for moving all of these things out of your way, keeping them clean and dust-free and not scratched. It's so much easier to work in a house that's empty. Unfortunately, you don't get to experience that very often. So as you see here, I'm pulling this dresser out and leaving enough room on both sides of it so that I can get my ladder on both sides of it so I can work. Now I need to remove the television from the bracket that's on the wall because I'm going to need to cut this wall and ceiling to snake the wire from where the ceiling fan is going to go to the edge of the room, through the top plate, which should be a double 2x4, down into the wall and connect it to the outlet that this television gets its power from. Okay, what you see me doing here is putting together my drill dust collector. It is a plastic container with a hole in the center of it, and then you take your drill bit, which fits into an expandable device that has 2 arms on it, so you can adjust your hole size up from like an inch up to, I think, 6 inches. And then that goes down through the hole and into your drill. And as you'll see here, let me show you a close-up. It spins independently from the plastic container. This way, when you drill the hole in the ceiling, all of the dust gets captured in that plastic container and doesn't go all over the room. And in fact, this works so well that I don't think any dust leaves that container at all. So I put the drill bit right on my mark and I drill through the ceiling. It's only 5/8 of an inch, doesn't take long, and it's only drywall, so it doesn't really take much effort at all. And then you have a hole in the ceiling, and all of the debris, as you see here, is collected inside of the tray, including the piece of drywall that gets stuck on the drill bit. No dust anywhere else. What you just saw me do was measure from the wall to the center of the hole that I drilled. I'm going to do the same thing down on this end of the room. I'm going to measure from the wall to that same measurement. I know that the cavity in the ceiling between the 2 floor joists from above is hollow all the way through to that end of the wall. So I need to make sure when I cut into the ceiling and cut into the wall that I do so where I'm going to actually be able to snake the wire. There I am again with that wall scanner. That's right. I don't make $20,000 mistakes. I'm not flooding anyone's house and having to call my insurance company and have anybody repair anything and look like a fool. This thing was about $300. I use it for every time I'm going to cut through a wall, every time I'm going to put a screw in a wall, every time I do anything that pierces a wall. So I'm scanning the ceiling, I'm scanning the wall, finding out where the studs are, and finding out where I can drill and where it's safe. It's easier to use a multi-tool than it is that keyhole saw. I'm going to cut a pumpkin cut into the drywall to cut a small opening in the ceiling and wall. Fish tape, that's what we're going to use to get it from the round hole for the ceiling fan over to our pumpkin cut hole so we can pull the wire down through the wall. This fish tape's available at your big box stores. It's not that expensive. They screw together. They're small little rods made of fiberglass. They screw together so you can make the length you need and you just push it through. Here I'm fishing around the ceiling until I find it, and I'll just sit it right here on the wall so that I can tape the wire to it and pull it back through. What is very important to note here is the angle at which I'm holding this multi-tool. I am cutting on the line into the wall at a 45-degree angle. This is called a pumpkin cut because once this piece of drywall is completely cut out of the wall, you'll be able to sit it back into place and it won't fall through the wall because the angle will fit together just like the top of a jack-o'-lantern when you cut it around Halloween time. When you cut it on an angle, it fits together. I'm still going to use wood behind it to strengthen it, but you could technically put this back together with just drywall compound. Look in there and you'll see it's a white 14 gauge wire. You want to make sure you use the same wire to run up to your ceiling fan. It's for a 15 amp circuit. Okay, so what you see me doing here is I actually have the 14 gauge coiled wire up on the floor, and I've taken the end of it and I fed it into the hole next to the outlet, and I'm feeding it up through into the pumpkin cut hole near the ceiling and through a 1/2 inch hole that I drilled through the top plate, the two top 2x4s of the wall. This way the wire will actually be able to be connected to that outlet behind the wall, and it'll go through the wall, through the top plate, and be in the ceiling. And then I'm going to connect it with this electric tape to the fish tape, and I will pull it through to the ceiling fan. Now that is going to take a few minutes because it will want to bunch up where it goes through the top plate, and I'll have to go back and forth, push a little bit, pull a little bit, until I get it to where I want it. Alright, what you see me doing here is I'm going to take extra slack of the wire and I'm going to pull it through the top plate and then out into the opening of the room. This way when I go over by the ceiling fan hole, I have enough slack to where I can pull maybe a foot at a time. Just for all the haters out there, I got permission to stand on the bed first, and I do have a canvas that I threw over it so I didn't get anything dirty. Here's where being kind to others might pay off in return for yourself. When you wire the ceiling fan into place, leave extra wire up in the ceiling. This way, if another technician comes along, electrician has to work on something, he has some extra wire in case he needs it. Alright, so what you see me doing here, and I'll speed this up so I don't bore you, is I'm removing the outlet. The power is off to this outlet, and I am going to knock the little square area out in the back of it. Use these needle nose to grab a hold of it and pull it out. And if you see what I'm talking about, let me point to it right here. This little square right here, I'm going to run the wire from the inside of the wall into that square. This way it's into the electric box. I apologize if this looks like it's difficult. This is actually probably the easiest part of the job, but I'm trying to hold the camera while fishing the wire, and it's taking a few minutes trying to keep everything in line so you get a good shot. And there you go. The wire comes through. So I sped this part of the video up because I figured if you were willing to install your own ceiling fan and run a new circuit that you probably knew how to wire an outlet. Now you're probably wondering, why didn't I wire this to a switch? Well, the client purchased a ceiling fan that is Alexa compatible and also has a remote. Wiring it to a switch would have required me to go back into the ceiling or down to the baseboard, across the wall, and up to wherever the switch position needed to be. This customer did not want to pay the extra for that, so she purchased an Alexa enabled one so she can just tell her Amazon device to turn it on or off, change the speed, or whatever else she can do with it. It also, like I said, has a remote so she can do it manually should the internet be out or anything like that. So black wire to gold, white wire to silver, bare wire to green. Be safe. Make sure the circuit's off. This here is a retro fit ceiling box. What it is a bar that has a threaded rod on the inside of it, and on each end of it is a plastic black piece that has sharp metal teeth in it. You stick it up through the hole in the ceiling. The feet sit on the top side of the drywall, and as you twist the square bar, it pivots on that inside threaded rod, forcing the teeth that's sticking out of both sides of it into the ceiling rafters or floor joists from above. You do it until it's nice and tight, and it'll hold up to 150 pounds, and it is rated for ceiling fans. After the bar is in place, it comes with a little metal attachment that fits over the top of the bar, and then you slide your metal junction box onto that and use 2 nuts to tighten it into the metal bar. You'll see here, I'm putting it in the ceiling now. I will tell you, it's very important that when you stick it in the ceiling and you sit it down on the drywall, you make sure that those feet are both sitting properly. If one of them is off and you tighten it, your bar will end up crooked, and the ceiling fan will go in crooked, and it will tap and make noise and not spin appropriately. So make sure you feel them, make sure they're facing the right direction. Don't make the mistake of just being in a rush to get that in there and tightened. You have to make sure that it's in there properly, tighten it slowly. This kit comes with everything you need, including a snap-in Romex connector, so when the wire enters into the junction box that you're about to mount to that, it'll slide through this one-way Romex connector, and it will not pull back out on the other end. I'm not speeding this portion of the video up because I want you to see that I'm reaching into this ceiling hole and I'm twisting the bar. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it better. Just as soon as this is super tight, by hand only, I'll put the bracket on over the top of the bar, and you'll see that is what we mount our junction box to. And we use a junction box that came with this kit, because it has 2 holes that line up with the bolts. Now we take the junction box, we knock the knockout plug out of the back of it. It comes with that little plastic one-way Romex connector. Snap that into the back of the box, and we can run our electric line through that, and where it's one way, it'll actually suspend the box there because the wire will not pull out from the other end. Along with this kit comes 2 nuts. They're very small. I think they're 1/4 inch. You push the box up onto the 2 bolts that are on that hanger that you hung onto the bar, and you tighten it down with a ratchet. You will need a ratchet with a deep well socket on it to reach into the box and be able to securely tighten. I always recommend looking at the instructions unless you've installed this exact model fan at least once or twice before, because they keep changing things and over-engineering things, trying to make things better, cheaper, I guess easier to install. Always check your instruction manual so you don't have to do it twice or back out of a problem you got to try to find a way to correct it. In every ceiling fan, tool, furniture, everything, you get these little packs right here. They keep the moisture off the tools or off the products. Don't throw this out. Throw this in your toolbox. If it's sitting out in your cold truck in the wintertime, or if it's sitting in your shop that's unheated in the wintertime, it will prevent your tools from rusting, or even getting moisture on them for that matter. I never throw these out, especially the nice big ones like I just showed you. Every ceiling fan is different. They don't all go in the same way. This here is my favorite bracket because it has a hook on it so I can actually hang the motor on it while I wire it. It's often easy if you keep in your toolbox a short little cable with a hook on each end of it, and then you could just hook the motor and then hook the bracket yourself if it doesn't come with one. Let me speed this up. This video is not about installing a ceiling fan and how to do it. It's about wiring a new one. Let's get through this and see how the ceiling fan looks on the ceiling. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy videos like this, I do invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you hit the little bell, you'll be notified anytime I upload a new one. These videos are designed with my children in mind. I have 3 beautiful daughters. They're all young right now, but as they get older, as they get married and get out on their own, whether I'm alive or not for them, I want them to be able to turn to Daddy and ask for help. And these videos will last a lot longer than I will. Girls, and whoever's watching, I hope it helped.